First of all, kudos to Forbes for doing the top Kratom products and normalizing Kratom into society. Thank you. However, all they did to get those top Kratom vendors was Google it, and they pulled from the top ranking Kratom vendors, not necessarily the top quality Kratom vendors. This doesn't mean I think you could smoke Kratom. I talk about alternative health, not just Kratom. If you have enough money, you can rank first and second page on Google. That doesn't mean you have quality product. That just means you have money to burn, or investors. But aside from that, I'm very happy that they posted it to begin with, considering Forbes is such a huge worldwide news source of information. So after the commercials, aka supporting veterans and PTSD and Kratom, now Forbes doing it. It's huge for the Kratom community and a good thing for us in general, and the safety of Kratom staying legal in the States and whatnot. Now, there's only one thing that stood out to me when I read that article, and it made me chuckle a little, is the cigarette Kratom joints. It looked like little joints, but it was Kratom.
You can smoke Kratom. What?
I think that is bizarre, and I think it's a great marketing tactic, because that's one thing people always ask in the community that I've noticed, or people asking me, can you smoke Kratom? It's like they're looking for the new, latest and greatest fads, which brings me to my next point.
Trainwreck.
I heard about Trainwreck. I instantly thought marijuana. The fact that they're trying to put Kratom into the category of cigarettes and marijuana being though it's a natural alternative as well, just like Kratom, and it comes from a plant, it's still something that really does get you high, which compared to Kratom, there's no comparison. Kratom doesn't do what marijuana does. And Kratom's not a cigarette, it's not nicotine. But they're trying to normalize it into different areas. And again, it's a marketing tactic. Trainwreck, that is a strain of marijuana. So the fact that they're gonna take that name and pretty much blend the top strains of Kratom, which every other vendor does that, it's just called something different. So many vendors create blends, and a lot of blends from these vendors are a combination of all the strains that they have, and they call it something else. Shout out to Breezy Trees. They've been doing blends for the longest time. I used to work with them, help them on their business of their website, and so it is a variety that you like to show your customers, blends. So Trainwreck is nothing new. They're just promoting it in a unique way to get attention. So again, great marketing, kudos. But it's not different than whatever thing I've tried that's blends. And honestly, strains is purely based on the way you dry it in the harvesting process, not the tree itself, not the leaf itself. There's technically only one leaf, one tree, but different ways to dry. I am glad of the exposure it's getting because of these tactics, but at the same time, I don't want people to be fooled, and that's my job. That's what I've been doing for years, is educating people, the public, researching, getting the facts, getting behind the scenes, and then sharing that. That's why I'll never be a vendor. I'll never sell it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm bashing on anything, because I support the community. I support vendors. My business that I have on the side that works with all different kinds of businesses and companies and franchises, I also have that to support the vendors so they can look really good and their business looks sleek and modern and nice. But at the same time, I know how it works. I know the marketing tactics, and I know the BS. And a lot of vendors, especially the ones that have money, can do that BS better than anyone else. They could top rank, they could get on Forbes simply because they're on the first page of Google. When Forbes journalist decides to Google Kratom, they just pop from the top page. That doesn't mean that those people ranking on page 1 have the best Kratom. They have the best marketing team and the most money. Aside from that, just don't be fooled. Trainwreck, come on, really? Don't steal marijuana's glory. And it's just a combination of strains that every other vendor that sells blends does. Just ask them straight out. Is this blend called, such and such? Is that a combination of all the blends that you have, strains? Yep. Okay, then that's the same thing as Trainwreck. It has nothing to do with something being unique. It's just a marketing tactic. And the smoking, really? I have herbs that have been smashed down, rolled up into joints, the raw paper, and you smoke it. It's just herbs. You could smoke anything. That doesn't mean the effects are going to be unique. Sure, you might have a different type of effect. And I'll do some more research on smoking kratom now that that's popping up more and more to see if it's legit. I'll probably have to buy some and actually smoke it myself before I have a strong opinion. But based on what I know, it's not going to do better than the other forms of dosing. But I'll find out, and then I'll do a video on it, on my opinion of it. But again, it's just looking for different avenues to market, which has its pros and cons. Good for exposing kratom more and putting that out there in the community, but bad when it comes to what parts of the community you're putting it in. Are you advertising it more to the cigarette users? Yes. Are you advertising it more to the, I want to get high users when you call it Trainwreck? Yes. Because the minute I heard that word, I thought of marijuana. I'm not saying marijuana is bad, but marijuana is really good for medical purposes and also for getting high because it gets you high. CBD is different. CBD reminds me more of kratom. The effects are not as strong as marijuana or LSD or mushrooms and all that stuff, right? Kratom is unique and set apart. So when vendors are trying to make it more like the other ones, just to expand the customer base, I have a problem with that, and I have to call it out. You can have whatever opinion you want. This is my job, is just sharing my opinion, my advocacy work. That's all I do. Doesn't mean you take it as law, but that's what I think. I've been around for a long time. I've worked behind the scenes with a lot of these major companies. I have a small business, so I work with small and medium-sized companies, and then I kind of, after that, once they get bigger, I hand it off to the bigger marketing agencies that they run off to and work with. But I'm very familiar, because of my business side, of how things work. I have a marketing agency that I own. I'm well aware of how you market a product, but it has its downsides, and that's what this video was exposing. And you could take it or leave it. It's just my opinion. I'm not paid to say what I say. If anything, it doesn't help these vendors, but I want the truth to be out there because nothing is more important than keeping kratom above reproach, making it look good, not just to people that want to look for a high or a new different version of a cigarette, but for the people that are in suburbia land, the housewives, the ones that live out middle class, high class, even low class. It doesn't matter which class. Kratom is for everyone. Even that tea drinking mama that lives in suburban town outside of Portland looking for the new latest tea. Kratom can be in that kind of market as well. And I'm not seeing that too much. I'm seeing people trying to market to people that want to get high or a different version of a cigarette. That's huge now, and it shouldn't be that way.